Hi there, Ali. So quite a day of events planned today ahead of Boris Johnson officially taking over. Run us through some of the items on the diary.
That's right. Theresa May, the still current British Prime Minister, is right now involved in her final Prime Minister's question session here at the House of Commons in Westminster. Jeremy Corbyn, the opposition Labour leader, has paid tribute to her sense of duty, her service, but has also been very critical of her Brexit policy. He's been very critical of her domestic agenda as well. Some MPs have been paying tribute to Theresa May from her own Conservative Party as she steps down. She has said in that PMQ's session that she is proud that Boris Johnson will be succeeding her and that she will be supporting him in his endeavours. Once she's wrapped up at PMQ's, she'll head back to Downing Street for what can be the most emotional part of the day, when she says goodbye to her staff at number 10 Downing Street. She then heads off to Buckingham Palace over in that direction to talk to the Queen to offer her resignation as Prime Minister. She's then gone. She is no longer the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Boris Johnson will then follow her to Buckingham Palace. He will speak to the Queen. She will ask him to form a government, at which point he will return to Downing Street. He'll walk up the street, we expect, probably out of a government limousine with all the security that comes with being Prime Minister. He'll deliver a short address to the nation, we expect, and then he'll walk through that famous black door as the Prime Minister. And
as Theresa May leaves with that degree of sadness, Ali, I'm wondering if the broader public in the UK feels any sadness at all as she leaves.
Well, look, there is often more sympathy from the British electorate when a Prime Minister leaves than there has been during the time that they've had in office. And some Prime Ministers end up being viewed more kindly by history than they were at the time. It's difficult to see, though, how Theresa May ends up recovering much of her reputation as Prime Minister, because there was only one issue really that defined her premiership, and that was Brexit. And the fact that she's had 3 years at Downing Street and has not delivered Brexit, I'm afraid we'll probably see her classed in years to come as a failure as Prime Minister. She didn't spend long at Downing Street. She had one job to achieve really there, despite setting out a domestic policy agenda as well, and she did not achieve that mission of delivering Brexit.
And Ali, as I'm speaking to you, I just want to update our viewers because we're bringing live pictures of those Prime Minister's questions, Theresa May's final session with the House. So I want to ask you then about Boris Johnson, because once he takes over, there is this expectation of mass resignations once the cabinet announcements are made. Is that still the word on the street in the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a number of ministers who will resign from the cabinet before he gets the chance to sack them. Others will be sacked and will be replaced. He will very much be putting a new cabinet together. Some of the faces we'll have seen before, but we are told that it will be a more ethnically diverse cabinet than the UK has ever seen before. We're also told there will be more women in Boris Johnson's cabinet than there were in Theresa May's. Some of those high-profile Brexiteers will be rewarded with significant jobs in his administration. We also understand that the breakdown will be about 66% to 33% in terms of Brexiteers in relation to MPs in the Conservative Party who were remaining supporters. That's part of the balance that he has now to strike, is to keep both wings of his party as happy as possible, and that is almost an impossible task, which is why, despite the fact that Theresa May's only been at Downing Street for 3 years, some are betting that Boris Johnson could be there 3 months or so. It could be a very short premiership if things don't go according to his early plans.
Indeed, and the domestic focus, obviously, Ali, for Boris Johnson will be on the Brexit issue, but at an international level, there's that ongoing tension between the United Kingdom, the US and Iran, with the seizure and counter-seizure of the vessels in the Strait of Hormuz and the broader Gulf region. How is he likely to deal with that, especially given his expected closeness with the US President Donald Trump?
Yeah, it's really complicated because of all the things you mentioned, but also because Jeremy Hunt, the current Foreign Secretary, it appears may be moving on from that role, so we may well have a new Foreign Secretary who has to deal with the Iran issue. You also have the fact that Theresa May's government has been trying to side with the Europeans when it comes to the Iran nuclear deal, trying to keep the Iran nuclear deal alive while the Americans have pulled out of it. And Theresa May's government's been trying not to side too closely with the Trump administration as it ratchets up rhetoric against Tehran. So it'll be interesting to see which direction Boris Johnson goes in. Will he be aligning more closely with the Americans, or will he continue to align more closely with the Europeans and even European Union allies when it comes to that very thorny Iran issue? It's a difficult and complicated global problem for him to walk into.
Ollie Barrett, our UK correspondent, live for us in London this lunchtime. Thank you.